Inspiring interviews with today's top landlords. This is the Rental Income Podcast. And now, Dan Lane.
Sean, you got kind of a late start buying rentals. What was holding you back?
I think just the fear of what if, the basic fears. Well, what if I invest the money and I lose everything? Being married and just worried about making a wrong decision and making a mistake. Same thing I bet a lot of people are probably afraid of, to take action, take that first step.
And so you thought about buying rentals for a long time. How many years did you think about it for?
Wow, a long time, probably 20.
20 years, okay.
Yeah, because I remember listening to Carlton Sheets, on CD, driving across the country, listening to all of his CDs, No Money Down. And that was a long time ago, Carlton Sheets.
And how old were you when you actually pulled the trigger and bought your first rental?
I was 49 when I purchased my first, and I started listening to real estate podcasts like yours when I was 48.
48, okay. And how old are you now?
53.
Fear of the unknown held Sean back for way too long from buying rental properties, but once he got started, he realized that buying rental properties really wasn't that scary after all. On the show today, we're going to walk through how Sean built out his rental portfolio and see how he's overcome some of the challenges that he's faced along the way. Joining us on the show today from Boonesboro, Maryland is Sean Haardt. We'll take a really quick break to thank our sponsors. We'll come right back and we'll talk to Sean. There is a ton of paperwork involved when you're getting a mortgage on a rental property. Lenders are going to want to see 2 years of tax returns, pay stubs, bank statements. I mean, it's a lot of work and a huge hassle. Shaylee Ridge from Ridge Lending Group has a brand new loan program where she doesn't care about any of that. She actually doesn't need any paperwork from you at all. She's just going to look at the deal. The most important thing she wants to see is, does it make sense? Is the property going to cash flow? If it does, she'll give you a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. Now, the rates are going to be a little bit higher than a traditional full doc loan, but it's still a great deal, somewhere between 3.9 and 5%. She can close quickly and there's no hassle. She can even do a cash out refi with this program. If you want to learn more, just reach out to Shaylee at ridgelendinggroup.com. That's RIDGE. lendinggroup.com, NMLS 42056. A good deal on a rental property isn't going to last very long. To win properties today, you need to move quickly when a deal comes on the market, but it takes time to analyze a property. I want to let you know about an app where you can analyze deals on your phone in seconds. It's called Ask Rick, that's RIC for Rental Income Calculator. You can analyze a deal with the push of a button. You can figure out the rent, your mortgage payment, your expenses, and figure out the cash flow. If the numbers make sense, you can make an offer right there on the app, or you can send a calendar invite to your agent to see the property in person. Ask Rick is currently offering a free 7-day trial. Just search for Ask Rick in the App Store or go to Just Ask Rick. That's RIC, justaskrick.com. 20 years is a long time to wait to buy your first rental property. Were you just not sure you would make money?
Yeah, I wasn't unsure that they weren't going to make money. I guess I was just worried about that first one and making a mistake with that. And to be honest, I wasn't good at managing my money. I didn't have a whole lot of money. I didn't have a whole lot of cash reserve then. I just didn't learn that it was lifestyle creep. Too much, you make more and then you spend more. And, I still want to know where all that money went when in my 20s.
Totally. Let's talk about you real quick. What's your goal with buying rental properties?
I think, I'm a high school history teacher, so I've got a pension that I can, count on a little bit later. My wife works for the state. She's got a pension we can count on a little bit later. But I just liked the idea of having, even when I didn't know that much, after listening to Carlton Sheets and after having some experiences in my personal life with other people with rental properties, it just seemed like that was always a neat way to, build wealth. But I just never, I'd never read any books. I never read Rich Dad, Poor Dad at the time. I was, living beyond my means probably. So my goal with the rentals was to be able to have that extra income, to probably have just a better retirement down the line and
Sure.
pass on something to my kids, really, most importantly.
Sure. So I guess your pension probably won't be 100% of your income. So like, you'll need to kind of make up a little bit of a gap, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So I think you're actually in a really good spot that you have that base of money and you need to make a little bit more. So how much, like, do you have a goal of how much cash flow you want to get to make up that gap?
I think, my wife and I did our budget a few years ago, and I think if we had $5,000 a month in, cash flow, rental income cash flow, I think that would be more than enough for what we need, and we would
Mhm.
be, financially independent at that point.
Sure, sure. Yeah. I mean,
So
with your pensions and an extra 5 grand, and I guess that probably gives you extra money to travel or to do whatever you want to do. I mean, I think that's really doable. So I guess the question is, how do you get there? So I guess there's two different ways that people go about this. That some people want to have their properties free and clear. Other people want to have mortgages. Do you have like a preference? Like, do you want to get all your rentals paid for, or are you comfortable with some debt?
I'm definitely comfortable having, some leverage. And I think what I'm going to do is a mix of both. I'm going to have some properties paid off in full, but I also like, using the leverage, especially now with the rates the way they are. I think that's going to be the better way to go. But I don't mind having some mortgages paid off in full. I know it opens you up a little bit more to lawsuits, if it's in an LLC, but I think, a mixture of both,
Hmm.
having things paid off and having some leverage as well, as I think
Right.
is what I'll do. Just
Okay.
just because I
Yeah.
like the feeling. I think the feeling of having things paid off. I think there's some, even though mathematically it may not make as much sense, I do like the comfort of saying yes, that mortgage is paid off in full.
So now at 53, like, do you feel like you can't make mistakes, that you've really got to get this right the first time?
No, no longer do I feel that. I don't like making mistakes that I should have been able to avoid or that I've already known. But I do. I'm not afraid like I was before.
Okay.
Definitely not. It's okay to make mistakes. You make mistakes, you learn from them, and you move forward. And mistakes are what teach you, how to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good. All right. So you're comfortable taking some risk. You're not afraid to make mistakes. I think you're in a really good spot. So let's talk about where you are right now. Can you tell us about your portfolio?
Sure, I've got 5 units currently right now, and I'm managing a sixth for a friend. Just because I actually do like property management. I think I'm pretty good at it.
Mhm.
I like having systems in place, and I like having the properties run themselves. But yeah, I've got 5 units. I'm living in one actually, so I've got a duplex in Hagerstown, Maryland, a duplex in Boonesboro, Maryland, and a townhome that I moved out of in Boonesboro, Maryland as well.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about that. So you're basically you're doing a house hack right now.
Correct.
Awesome. Okay. I love that. House hacking is a strategy that a lot of people do in their 20s. And, I think people feel as they get older that they can't house hack, but you're doing a house hack with, you're married, and do you have kids?
I do. I have a 20-month-old and a 5-year-old.
So how has that been working out? Like, doing a house hack with kids?
I have to give credit to my wife. She at first, when I learned about house hacking, I was like, oh, I wish I had done that, before this and before that. And I guess I stewed on that for probably 6 to 12 months. And then I finally approached my wife. I approached Leslie and was like, I just want to run this by you. And it definitely helps to have a cool spouse that's willing to take that journey with you, and she's been willing to do that. But I said, here, look, these are the numbers. We're paying about 1760, I think, at the time for our townhome, and it was a nice townhome, and it is a nice townhome. It was the model unit. It was great. It was a great home. But it was 1760 a month. So that's over 21,000 a year. I was like, we could move out of this and then find a duplex, hopefully in downtown Boonesboro somewhere, which I didn't know if it would be possible either, because it's a small community of about 3,500 people. And luckily, my wife gave me an answer I wasn't expecting, and she was like, "Sure, yeah, we can try that."
That's great.
And that's how it started.
That's great. So you're saving $21,000 a year by not paying that mortgage payment. And so are you living free? Is the other side covering the mortgage?
Yeah, it does. It's great. We found this duplex in downtown Boonesboro. It was off market. We were able to get the duplex, and the rent or the mortgage is $950 PITI, and the rent is $1,000. And
Okay,
I think that
beautiful.
that definitely helps. My wife loves that.
Beautiful. Okay, so you're saving $21,000 a year. You're living for free. I think that's great. That's such a great way to lower your expenses. Tell me about the
Yeah.
rest of your portfolio. So then you said you have another duplex.
Yeah, the first place I got is in Hagerstown, and the duplex has been wonderful. That was my first property. I was running the numbers for a while. My little one was just born in 2016, and I had about 5 months off of work. She was born in June. I had the summers off as a teacher, and then I took 3 months paternity leave. So I was able to just educate myself as much as possible on, some real estate podcasts and real estate websites. And I knew enough of the numbers after running the calculators that a duplex in Hagerstown for under 100,000 was going to be, at least the 1% rule, probably closer to 1.5. The only thing I didn't know was what I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that first property has worked out really well, actually.
Okay, so you've got that duplex, and how do the numbers work on that?
So it started. I bought the place for 89. The seller was asking 99, and we went down to 89. I didn't know at the time, for example, that the roof was in bad shape. I'm actually replacing that in the next month. And the mortgage for that, the total payment for that was just over PITI is just over $500. And one of the units, covers that completely. And so
Perfect.
the other unit was just, gravy. So that's been working out well. And that's how it started. And the numbers have actually gotten better since 4 years ago.
Because of the rents going up.
Yeah, the rents in one unit have gone up. I've learned a lot. The downstairs tenant has been there. She's my oldest tenant, has been there, the longest, my longest tenant rather. And it's the upstairs unit that I've had 3 people in, and each time, I'm able to raise the rent, during turnover. But I've also each time also improved, I put hardwood floors in, luxury vinyl plank in there, redid the bathroom. So every time somebody moves out, I go in and do something else, either cosmetic or structural that helps gets the place ready for the next resident. And right now I'm only charging $625 for the upstairs, and I know I can easily get $800 for that now. So I'll probably wait until this tenant or resident moves out, and then I'll up that to probably $800.
And you're self-managing that property?
I am. I intend to hand over everything to property management. I forget where I learned this, but it was just, I always put in 10% when I run the numbers for property management, knowing that down the line, I do want to hand it over. But I also wanted to manage myself, so I knew what it looked like when I found a good property management company.
Mm-hmm.
And I do agree with, no one's going to manage your properties as well as you do, or at least I did agree with that until I had something happen recently, and I couldn't get my people over there to repair something in the time that I would have preferred. So I think at this point, I'm actually going to with the Hagerstown duplex. I am actually going to turn that over to a property management company because the
Okay.
numbers are so good on that place.
Yeah, I mean, so it sounds like you're doing great with everything. Do you feel silly that you were so scared for so long to get started?
Uh, yeah, I definitely wish I'd gotten started earlier and wish I had known what I know now. Um, you know, just all the books I'm reading, all the stuff I'm listening to, like your podcast, which I'm so grateful for. I'm so grateful even to be
Oh, that's
asked to be on
awesome.
here. I've learned so much. I really appreciate everything you've done, Dan. I've listened to hundreds of your shows and I've learned so much. So, from learning all this and listening, yeah, I wish I had started 20 years ago for
Yeah.
sure. But
Yeah.
I've also learned that starting even at 49 is a game changer on so many different levels.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, so how do you feel like it's changed your life, or how do you feel like it's made things better for you?
Well, it's been, I mean, on a personal level, there's the financial level, the real estate level, but then there's also the personal level. Personally, it's given me a whole bunch more confidence in myself, trying something that I didn't know how to do before. And I've actually, brought that into the classroom with me and tell my students the same thing, refer to the growth mindset a lot. And, hey, that you can try this. And if it doesn't work this way, try it a different way. And as far as the financial aspect, it's been wonderful. Not As soon as I moved out of the townhome, we moved out of townhome and saved $20,000 there. Now we're living rent free in this beautiful home. This I'm a history teacher, so I'm living in this beautiful 1849 pre-Civil War home. I took up all the carpets. It was dropped ceiling tiles everywhere, so we took all those out, and now we've got these beautiful 172-year-old floors that are just really neat. Old
Mhm.
doors. It's just a beautiful home. And my
Yeah.
resident that lives next door, um, his labor of love is gardening. So I have this beautiful, it's a very well-known yard on the corner. They're like, "Oh, you're the house with all the flowers." Yeah, that's my resident. My tenant does all of the work in the yard. So not only am I living for free, and I love doing landscaping myself. I don't even have to do the landscaping. I ask him permission to cut the yard. I say that tongue in cheek, but he's turned out to be, they both have, he and his wife have turned out to be just wonderful, not just wonderful residents, but they've turned out to be friends of ours. They take care of our dogs, and they've helped us out if we've had to run to the hospital for an emergency or something. And it's just been unbelievable living here. And to think that we're enjoying all of this and pretty much for free has just been fantastic
Yeah.
for
I mean,
both my wife and I.
a good tenant can make this so easy. I mean, if you have the wrong tenant, rentals can be a nightmare, but but there are good people out there, and you just got to find them. And that's really great. Now you have one other property that was that the initial property that you were living in, your initial townhouse.
Yeah, the townhouse was where we were living when I first
Okay.
started getting interested in real estate and
So
that.
you didn't buy that as a rental. So like that was a house you bought to live in. So the numbers probably aren't going to be as good, but are you just kind of breaking even on that, or is that losing money or making a little bit of money? How is that working out?
Yeah, we originally, I got taken to the cleaners on that because I bought it in 2008 when the market was coming down and it was the model unit. And so I'm in the leasing office, which is now the basement or the garage of that unit now. And they had all the models or all the units up there on the wall on the board with a green or a red push pin in there saying if it was for sale or sold. And everything on our block at the time was 312, 317, 321. And I luckily was able to, the model unit, which I know is often already, purchased by an investor, was available for sale. And I was like, wow, this is great. But it was going for 275 at the time. So this is right when the market started to crash. And of course, I didn't know what was going on. This is in March of 2008. And yeah, I was like, oh, we're going to get the model unit for, 30, 40, 50,000 cheaper than these other units. Sure. Okay. And then the bottom fell out of the crash, and I think about a year later, it appraised at 190 after I bought it at 273.
Hmm.
So that's been kind of a bite, but we weren't too worried because we weren't going anywhere, So
Yeah.
we were living there, and that was fine. But yeah, when we moved out, they're highly sought after. The neighborhood is highly sought after. The townhomes are highly sought after, and the residents that are living in there now have actually lived in four different units in that development, and they love the development. So my house is actually the fifth, and they said this is the nicest. We want to stay here forever. We never want to move. As far as I'm concerned, that's fine.
That's
They can stay
great.
there as long as they want. And
And so
they've been terrific too.
does their rent just basically cover the mortgage?
It does. It just covers the mortgage. The mortgage has actually gone down recently. So, but we also have an HOA of about 95 a month. So that's really just a break even property right now. There's no cash flow.
Okay.
But it just basically pays for itself. And it finally, is starting to appreciate back to where the numbers were back in 2008. It finally, we finally have it's finally, we were never really underwater, too badly, but it's nice now that they're valued at over we've got about almost 100,000 equity now in that place, so that's kind of nice.
That's awesome. Okay, so that property is just kind of breaking even. Hopefully you're going to see some more appreciation. You're getting the mortgage pay down. You've got your house hack that you're living in for free. And then you've got your other duplex that seems like it's cash flowing great. So I think you're off to a really good start. Where do you see yourself going from here? Like, when do you think you'll buy your next property?
Well, the other thing I'm anxious to do now that I feel a little bit more comfortable is hard money was intimidating for me at the beginning, and I think that's where I'm going to be headed next. I finally have some cash built up. I just refied, as a matter of fact, yesterday, with my duplex in Hagerstown, and the ATV came in, or automated value model, AVM, came in at about 145. I thought it was only about 110. So that came in a lot higher than I expected. And so I was able to refi that, lower my rate for 5 years from a 4.5 down to a 4.1. And now I've got, an extra 20,000 in the bank that I'm just going to, have some rainy day funds with. But I think I'm going to, now use some hard money, and I'm definitely a buy and hold investor, but I also think I'm going to flip a couple with some people I've met recently, to build up my reserves a little bit more.
Okay, awesome. All right, so do a couple of flips, make some more money, and just keep on building the portfolio from here.
Yeah, if I could give back to somebody that's listening today, is that even if you're older and you're wondering, is it too late to start? It isn't. I started at 49, started listening to stuff at 48, reading books and learning. Got my first property at 49. I'm now 53 with 5 units, ready to get more. And it's been a game changer. I have no housing payment. I have 5 units, 3 properties that are, appreciating, and I've got equity in all 3. So it's been wonderful, even though I started at almost 50 years old. So I would just maybe pass that on to your listeners, that it's not too late, and it can be life changing, really, and it's fun.
That's true. Rental properties are a lot of fun. Well, if Sean inspired you and you're ready to buy your first rental property, or you want to add to your portfolio, the lender that I recommend is our sponsor today. It's Chaley Ridge from Ridge Lending Group. Chaley is a nationwide lender, and her specialty is helping investors finance rental properties. She has a ton of different loan programs, and she can find something customized to you in your situation. If you want to find out more, or you want to set up a time to talk to Chaley personally, just go to ridgelendinggroup.com. That's RIDGE lendinggroup.com, NMLS 42056. Thank you so much for checking out the podcast today. If this is your first time here, make sure you follow or subscribe to the show. We put out new interviews every single Tuesday, and if you subscribe or follow, you'll get notified as soon as they come out. My name is Dan Lane, and this has been the Rental Income Podcast.